Welcome in, everybody. I'm Reed Cowan. Okay, so breaking news. One day after a grilling on Capitol Hill, the director of the Secret Service is out. That plus Kamala Harris gets delegates and dollars as she gets ready to take the mic in Wisconsin. We write our video feeds for those stories plus breaking news from your communities. Welcome in. This is CBS News 24/7. Let's go. Taking you live right now to this video feed looking at Washington, D.C., where you can see the flags there in a podium. Why are we taking you there? Well, we anticipate hearing from Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. Now, our sources say both of them will stand at that microphone and endorse Vice President Kamala Harris for president after President Biden withdrew from the race. Of course, as soon as we see them take to that podium, we will bring it to you live here on the stream. Let's, in the meantime, get to that bombshell news out of Washington. You see her right there. Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheatle resigning less than one day after this grilling from lawmakers on Capitol Hill. Their question, how a gunman nearly assassinated former President Donald Trump. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer reacted in this statement today, quote, "The Secret Service has a no-fail mission, yet it failed historically on Director Cheatle's watch." At yesterday's Oversight Committee hearing, Director Cheatle instilled no confidence that she has the ability to ensure the Secret Service can meet its protective mission. Went on to say, while Director Cheatle's resignation is a step toward accountability, he said, we need a full review of how these security failures happen so that we can prevent them from going forward. Also, House Speaker Mike Johnson also weighing in as he found out the news live on camera that Cheatle had resigned just a moment ago. Listen to what he had to say.
She just resigned?
She just resigned. Can you say how this changes oversight of the assassination attempt now?
Well, she must have been watching our press conference. I'm glad she did the right thing. Look, our reaction, the immediate reaction to her resignation is that it is overdue. She should have done this at least a week ago. I'm happy to see that. I'm happy to see that she has heeded the call of both Republicans and Democrats. Now we have to pick up the pieces. We have to rebuild the American people's faith and trust in the Secret Service as an agency.
CBS News congressional correspondent Scott McFarland following these minute-by-minute developments. Scott, you said it yesterday, unrelenting, bipartisan questions. Now Cheatle is out.
In a month full of just shocking news, this was no surprise at all. She lost her job to a degree in that room yesterday, testifying before the U.S. House because she lost the room. Two big concerns here. This historic, traumatic event in Butler, Pennsylvania, July 13th. This almost preposterous failure of security, allowing someone with an AR-15 to get a football field's distance away from Donald Trump's speech. That failure is one thing, but the second thing is she didn't have answers for questions yesterday in front of a congressional panel, Reed, that was just ravenous for information. They wanted to ensure there's no ongoing vulnerabilities, no ongoing weaknesses. They brought questions about the gunman, the timeline, the bullets, the evidence. She kept saying she wasn't going to release information because of ongoing FBI and Secret Service investigations, the latter of which she said would take 2 months to complete. That just didn't sit well with this panel, and it culminated with Democrats and Republicans at this uniquely politically divisive moment, both saying she had to resign. And here's one anecdote that tells the story, Reed. I spoke with Virginia Congressman Jerry Connolly, a Democrat, who says he rarely likes to call for resignations, thinks it's a Washington cliche. Walked into the hearing yesterday thinking Director Cheatle would acquit herself and explain herself, walked out of the hearing room and was among the first to say she had to resign.
Scott, we talk about vulnerabilities here. Look, we have a vice president who's on the campaign trail. We have a former president of the United States also out among the people on the campaign trail. Is the Secret Service without a leader at this time? What's the what next on that?
They have an acting director. Somebody from lower down the ranks is taking over, effective immediately. There are calls here in Congress to change how the Secret Service director is selected in future years to better prevent against other calamities, maybe make them congressionally confirmable. Put that aside for a moment. The agency has now stood up with a new director in an acting capacity, but there are concerns that aren't going to go away just because of a resignation. There are concerns that this would-be assassin was no master criminal, no international actor. He's a 20-year-old with an AR-15 who lived an hour away and found a vulnerability on the top of a barn. This is something that has concerns about bigger, deeper threats continuing without the necessary Secret Service force field in place.
Well, let's not forget, a volunteer firefighter, a servant of our country, lost his life that day. 2 others are recovering from their wounds, not to mention the shock to our nation and those who were there. Scott McFarland, thank you, as always. Now to Wisconsin, Vice President Kamala Harris is there for a campaign rally. We were just talking about her being amidst the people and needing that protection. This is the first time since becoming the likely Democratic presidential nominee. CBS News White House correspondent Weijia Jiang is traveling with the vice president right now. Weijia, we can hear the crowds cheering. Last week at this time, this was RNC territory. Now, the vice president is making a counter argument to what Republicans had to say.
Reed, that's right, and you can hear the crowd already. We are anticipating her arrival. This will be her first campaign stop since becoming the likely Democratic nominee. And I think her message is going to be pretty clear. In fact, she spoke to campaign staffers last night at the headquarters in Wilmington, and she did not waste any time. She immediately went on the attack, drawing a contrast between Democrats, between herself and Donald Trump. And you really couldn't write this story more than it already has been written. I mean, you have a former prosecutor, district attorney of San Francisco, going head-to-head with a convicted felon, which is what they're talking about right now here on the stage. And so it really sets up a very dramatic contest, and we fully expect Harris will lean into that. In fact, you know, we keep hearing from officials that that's going to be the strategy to build the case against Donald Trump. She has the chops to do it in a way that Joe Biden didn't as a former prosecutor. And so this crowd is already really revved up. You can hear the energy, the excitement. This excitement and electricity, Reed, is precisely what many Democrats felt Joe Biden was missing, and that regardless of what he did, he would not be able to gen up this kind of support, which is really critical when you're talking about showing up at the ballot box.
Well, and speaking of showing up, we want to let you know and our viewers know that what you're seeing is Kamala Harris arriving in Wisconsin right now, greeting a couple of young ladies right there who dressed in dresses. And we can tell you that you can expect her to arrive where you are in short order, because we are seeing her right now live right there on the tarmac. We just stay with me for a second, because we want to talk about running mate watch. We just heard from one potential pick, Marilyn Gubb. Actually, we have some breaking developments. We're going to go listen to Senator Chuck Schumer as it relates to Kamala Harris. Let's listen.
And will be elected president in November. We are brimming with excitement, enthusiasm, unity. On Sunday, President Biden showed the world what a great man he is. His true patriotism, his profound sense of decency came shining through. We all know it was not an easy decision for him. But just as he has done in his entire life, President Biden's selfless decision not to seek the nomination put our country, our party, and our future first. At his core, he's just an honorable man, a family man, a man of deep faith. We love him. We truly do. I'll have more to say on President Biden later this afternoon in my floor speech. But President Biden's selfless decision has given the Democratic Party the opportunity to unite behind a new nominee, and boy, oh boy, are we enthusiastic. Since President Biden's announcement, we've seen the Democratic Party swiftly coalesce behind Vice President Kamala Harris. When I spoke with her Sunday, she said she wanted the opportunity to win the nomination on her own, and to do so from the grassroots up, not top down. We deeply respected that, Hakeem and I did. She said she would work to earn the support of our party, and boy, has she done so in quick order. Vice President Harris has done a truly impressive job securing the majority of delegates needed to win the Democratic Party's nomination to be our next president of the United States. The vast majority of my senators quickly and enthusiastically endorsed her. So now that the process is played out, from the grassroots bottom up, we are here today to throw our support behind Vice President Kamala Harris. I'm clapping. You don't have to. It's a happy day. What can I say? Together, we will keep and hopefully grow the Senate majority, and under future Speaker Hakeem Jeffries, we will win back the House. Democrats are moving forward stronger and more united than ever before. In just the last 36 hours, I have seen a surge of enthusiasm from every corner of our party uniting behind Vice President Harris. An enthusiasm felt in every corner of the country, and it's contagious among Democrats. The volunteers, the small contributions, they're just pouring in ways even beyond our expectations. Now, we all know that Vice President Harris has a tremendous record to run on. And now begins the next chapter in our quest to make sure Donald Trump does not become president. Today, with one voice, we speak about the dangers he presents to working families, to our country, and to our democracy. We see very clearly how nervous the Republicans are about our new nominee. Well, they ain't seen nothing yet. Last night, Vice President Harris secured a majority of delegates. Today, in Wisconsin and across America, we begin our next chapter, and it will be our best yet. Vice President Harris will beat Donald Trump and become the next President of the United States of America. Applause. Hakeem.
Thank you, Leader Schumer. Joe Biden is a patriotic American. Joe Biden is a heroic American. Joe Biden is a great American. Joe Biden will go down in American history as one of the most consequential presidents of all time. President Joe Biden has made the selfless decision to pass the torch to Vice President Kamala Harris, who is ready, willing, and able to lead us into the future. Kamala Harris and her candidacy has excited and energized the House Democratic Caucus, the Democratic Party, and the nation. Vice President Harris has earned the nomination from the grassroots up and not the top down. She is ready, she is willing, she is able to energetically and emphatically lead America into the future. Kamala Harris is a common sense leader who knows how to deliver real results for hardworking American taxpayers. Kamala Harris is a courageous leader who has worked hard throughout her entire career to keep our communities safe. Kamala Harris is a compassionate leader who will build an affordable economy that makes life better for everyday Americans. Kamala Harris will fight for our freedom. Kamala Harris will fight for our families. Kamala Harris will fight for our future. I'm proud to strongly endorse Kamala Harris to be the 47th President of the United States of America. We're going to hold the Senate. We're going to win the House. We're going to elect Kamala Harris as our next president in November.
Thank you. Yes. Well, questions on this subject? Yes.
I know you said that this was a bottom-up process, but Kamala Harris is the Vice President of the United States. There was no other competition. This is going to be selected by party delegates, insiders, essentially. What's your case to the American people and to the Democratic voters that voted for Joe Biden that this isn't a coronation?
The bottom line, it was a bottom-up process. People just rallied right to her side. The enthusiasm in this big, diverse, representative party was amazing. It was palpable. You could cut it with a knife. Yes.
Schumer, are you worried that Republican efforts will bubble up in states to keep Harris off the ballot, to leave Joe Biden on the ballot?
No. Yes.
Leader Schumer, when are you guys going to meet with the Vice President?
Soon.
Leader Schumer,
See, we're getting more questions in with short answers.
you had a number of conversations with the President over the last several weeks. You went up to Delaware. That was described as a bit of an emotional meeting of sorts. I'm wondering, did you ever personally ask him not to run for re-election?
Look, what I would say is that the President has done an amazing, amazing job as President, one of the best we've ever had, and he put his country first and made the right decision. Thank you, everybody.
Ask him to run out for re-election?
Preference on Vice President?
Is that discussed at all?
Senator Schumer and Representative Jeffries there, a giddy Senator Schumer and a resolute Hakeem Jeffries there endorsing VP Kamala Harris to be our nation's next president after she does battle with Donald Trump. You heard that very pointed question there at the end. Did you, in your communications with President Joe Biden, encourage him to not run? He would not answer that question, just continued re-emphasizing that they both felt confidence that President Joe Biden had put country over party and did the right thing by getting out of the race. You're going to see a lot of President Joe Biden in the next coming days, and in fact, in the next few hours, out and about with people. So on that note, you may want to know what we just got in our hands. This is from the physician to the president, a letter that has been coming out similar to several last week and today. The president has now tested negative for COVID, so he is cleared to now be out and about with the people. We also just got word that President Biden's address to the nation after withdrawing from the race is now on the books. That will happen tomorrow. We understand 8 p.m. Eastern. And so we're following that. And also, we're also looking live in Dover, where the president will leave soon for Washington. Once again, COVID sidelined him for days, but this letter says he's got the all clear. In fact, his physician saying in this letter he continues the business of the presidency. What a busy day it is. When we come back, we're going to be talking about wildfires out in California. CBS News 24/7 after the break. We'll come back. CBS News 24/7, it's our promise to you. When we see it, you see it. And here's what we just got in our hands. It is a letter, the physician for the President of the United States, President Biden, cleared by his doctors to be out and about with the people, to go about the business of the presidency, and also now campaigning for Kamala Harris. He has tested negative for COVID. His doctor assuring us in the press and elsewhere that he has tested negative for COVID and he will continue about the business of the presidency. We just wanted to get that to you. It is on the official letterhead from the White House. All right, so look at this video to our monitors. This is coming from Riverside County, California, where 2 fast-moving wildfires destroyed 6 homes and damaged 7 more. And the cause? Illegal fireworks. In fact, the officials who told us that little bit of information now say they have a manhunt on their hands. Apparently, the suspects were caught on camera. You can see home after home burning there. In all, $11 million in damage and counting from this one. Listen.
This tragic event serves as a stark reminder of why fireworks are illegal. Our investigators will continue relentlessly until we are assured that the suspects have been caught. And let me be clear, we will ensure they are prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
Yeah, this caused a big mess for a lot of people. Thousands had to evacuate as those flames ate up some 500 acres. We're also learning at least 2 people were hurt in that fire. So as we look at the California wildfires, we're also aware of the heat and the danger that comes from that, Jess.
Absolutely. The boots on the ground fighting that fire right now are dealing with some of the warmest and hottest temperatures we've seen so far this year in the state of California. Right below me, you see all the heat advisories and warnings issued by the National Weather Service. That stretches throughout the whole state of California, up into Oregon. A little bit of that gray, you know what that is? It's more fires burning up in Oregon right now. Over a dozen mega fires are currently burning there, and that's allowing for air quality advisories widespread throughout the state of Oregon. We're keeping a close eye on the heat stretching all the way into Montana too, but let's dive right back into that smoke real fast. We are continuing to monitor that at the surface level, not only in California, but like I said, all the way up in Oregon as we head into the coming days. Besides that, let's dive into the heat. Daytime highs today, they're sitting in the triple digits, anywhere from California up into Idaho this afternoon, and a similar trend over into Montana. Billings breaking records, actually, as we head into the coming days. And to add to that, we're going to continue to watch this heat shift just a little bit to the east, closer to Bismarck in the Dakotas as we head into the coming days. Take a look at this. I'm going to show you our temperatures this afternoon alone throughout the states. Houston sitting comfortable in the 80s. However, we're dealing with 90s into New Mexico, and then suddenly, just like that, we're in the triple digits once we make our way over into Las Vegas, Phoenix. A similar trend into California, and of course, we're also seeing it with record-breaking numbers in areas like Billings too. We will keep you updated with all of this heat as we continue into the next couple days. I have more on dealing with flooding coming up in just a bit too, but Reed, gosh, no breaks in sight.
My gosh, it's a summer buffet.
It is.
Only it's weather. Okay, Jess, thank you so much. When we come back on the stream, we are going to be telling you the story of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on tour in the United States, who he wants to talk to, and what he has to say about a deal that is in the works and very real at this hour about the potential release of hostages held by Hamas. We'll be back. Making headlines now, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will be in Washington later today, addressing both the House and the Senate. Those meetings will happen tomorrow, and then he'll meet with President Biden on Thursday. Keep in mind, President Biden has now been cleared. He is no longer contagious. He is free of COVID. The Prime Minister is also expected to meet with Vice President Kamala Harris this week. He is also signaling a deal is very close for the release of hostages still held by Hamas in Gaza. That's something families of those hostages discussed today in a House Foreign Affairs roundtable.
I'll start with a number, 291. 291 days since October 7th, and I do not think any of us here ever phantomed that we will be sitting here after 291 days and asking something very basic, to be reunited with our family.
I believe at this point, as an Israeli American, that any true friend of Israel today must pressure our Prime Minister to finish the deal now. There is no further, our own security services have said clearly there is no other security issue that cannot be resolved quickly if, in principle, there's political will to finish this.
We'll have all the updates from the Prime Minister's trip to Washington here on CBS News. In the meantime, let's jump the map to Maine and follow up to the worst mass shooting in that state's history. So the Army has been investigating this one and found multiple communication failures about warning signs. In the months before, Army reservist Robert Card carried out that October shooting that killed 18 and wounded 13 others. Military and civilian hospitals discharged him, saying he posed a very low risk to himself and a low risk to others. This was all despite homicidal ideation shown and apparently discussing a hit list. So across the globe now, and video coming to us from a rising death toll in Ethiopia because of heavy rains and mudslide. Look at this video. It captures people frantically digging through the mud looking for survivors. Right now, we know that these storms cost Ethiopia much. The death toll at least 229. That includes children, and we understand pregnant women. We also know that number could go up as many people are still unaccounted for. When we come back, we're going to continue talking about the resignation of the director of the Secret Service. We'll be live in Washington. Until then, we'll be watching these video monitors here behind me. You're watching CBS News 24/7. Back after the break. Back to that bombshell news out of Washington, D.C. Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheatle resigning. This was less than a day after that grilling from lawmakers on Capitol Hill on the fundamental question of how a gunman nearly assassinated former President Trump. Here's House Speaker Mike Johnson reacting earlier today.
Mr. Speaker, did you get a heads up about Cheatle's resignation?
No, I didn't get a heads up. We were in the middle of a press conference and it was announced. But yeah, I was informed by the president. It's overdue. She should have done it days earlier. And now we have to look forward, ensure that the mistakes don't ever happen again, and that we have proper leadership there. So I commend her for stepping down, but I think she should have done it sooner.
So Cheatle did finally release a statement today that we can all read. It says in part, quote, "The Secret Service's solemn mission is to protect our nation's leaders and financial infrastructure. On July 13th, we fell short on that mission." Went on to say the scrutiny over the last week has been intense and will continue to remain as our operational tempo increases. As your director, I take full responsibility for the security lapse, close quote. CBS News congressional correspondent Nicole Killian joins us live now. You were able to get that microphone in the face of the House Speaker. Did you get a sense that he was surprised at the news?
Well, to the extent that he kind of learned about this during his weekly press conference. But look, the news broke pretty quickly. We do know that Speaker Johnson had a pretty candid conversation with the Secret Service director right before that very contentious House oversight hearing yesterday. And he said, that this is nothing personal. That is kind of what he conveyed to her. But that being said, we saw throughout the course of that hearing, lawmaker after lawmaker, Democrat and Republican, call on the Secret Service director to resign. And then late yesterday evening, you had South Carolina Congresswoman Nancy Mace, who was part of that hearing, also go so far as to file an impeachment resolution against the Secret Service director. She told me she will now withdraw that. But I just say all that to say that clearly the pressure was ratcheting up on the Secret Service director to step down, which ultimately she did.
Hey, Nicole, stay with us for just a second. Vice President Kamala Harris is in Wisconsin right now. We caught her arriving at the airport about a half hour ago. This is her first campaign rally since becoming the likely nominee for the Democratic Party pursuing the presidency. She just got the endorsement of both Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and, of course, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. Let's listen into that, and then I want to get your reaction.
The vast majority of my senators quickly and enthusiastically endorsed her. So now that the process is played out, from the grassroots bottom up, we are here today to throw our support behind Vice President Kamala Harris. We will keep and hopefully grow the Senate majority, and under future Speaker Hakeem Jeffries, we will win back the House. Democrats are moving forward stronger and more united than ever before.
Kamala Harris will fight for our freedom. Kamala Harris will fight for our families. Kamala Harris will fight for our future. I'm proud to strongly endorse Kamala Harris to be the 47th President of the United States of America. We're going to hold the Senate. We're going to win the House. We're going to elect Kamala Harris as our next president in November.
So, Nicole, as somebody who follows these lawmakers very closely, day in and day out, how do you contrast the energy there with what you saw a week ago, 2 weeks ago?
Well, clearly there is different synergy around the vice president as there was relative to the president, of course. We saw the debate over whether the president should stay in the race drag on for the better part of 3 weeks. But look, I think Democrats realize that they need to rally around someone and do it fast. They've got the convention approaching. Obviously, we're nearing the end of the election, which is approaching in just a couple of months in November. So, those Democrats who had concerns about the president's ability to stay on the ticket had always made clear that this needs to be settled in a relatively short period of time. I would note, having been at that press conference as well, that both Leader Jeffries and Schumer said that they intend to meet with the vice president very soon. Obviously, they are making this endorsement ahead of meeting with her, but they insist that this is not any type of coronation, that they believe that she has earned this nomination by picking up the grassroots support of fellow Democrats.
Nicole Killian chasing down the story. We saw the video there and also making time for us on the stream. We are so grateful. You have a great day. So if you're flying Delta today, listen up. Our cameras are trained on the struggles that many of you are having today. Days after that devastating computer outage hit the airline industry last week and other industries as well. CBS News reporter Jared Eggleston joins us live from Atlanta International Airport, and it looks like you are at baggage claim right now. I see a lot of bags piling up. Give us a sense of what it's like there today.
Reed, good afternoon. That's right. There are bags piling up here, and I'll say there are more than when I was here yesterday. I want to show you around right now. We're here. This is sort of like a makeshift baggage help desk. That's the main desk over there, and we're seeing less people in the line right now than I did yesterday at this time. But look at all these bags. This isn't the only line we have here. All the way down, up and down this south terminal, that's where Delta is out of here in Atlanta. There are bags lined up, hundreds and thousands, as travelers try to find just where their bags ended up. Now, I've talked to a few travelers today and yesterday as we were out here, and a lot of them are relieved that they made it to Atlanta, that they're, moving on with their travelers, but a lot of them are still frustrated as Delta's delays and cancellations continue to pile up 5 days into this meltdown.
Well, we know Transportation Secretary Buttigieg has told travelers you will be compensated for this in one way or another. That's probably little consolation for the people who still have not been matched with their bags. Jared, thank you so much for that glimpse into the airport mania. So we want to jump the map on the stream right now to Odessa, Texas, and a fire causing evacuations. So we've got some preliminary information right now that this was some sort of a chemical fire. And look at that. You can see the smoke. You can see the flames. So deputies right now in the blocks around where this fire is playing out here on your screen are going door to door. They are asking people to get out. It's just an ask right now. There are no mandatory evacuations, but they are requesting that people comply and get out soon. We also want to show you what's going on our video monitors, taking us now to New Mexico in the wake of wildfires there. Here's your headline on this story. The feds are investigating a man and his girlfriend for starting multiple wildfires there. That includes the one you're looking at right here, at least the aftermath. This is the devastating Salt Fire. That one destroyed 7,000 acres of forests. In fact, the FBI believes the couple is linked to at least 6 of the 16 fires intentionally sparked in May and June. Now, they've landed on that theory, they say, because of strong witness testimony. They've also used forensic analysis on shoe prints that were found by investigators. Our video monitors also take us to the state of Oregon, where 4 wildfires have reached mega fire status. And we don't use that term lightly. What does it mean? A mega fire is a fire at least 100,000 acres in size that spans the eastern half of that state. This moment, we can tell you, more than 10,000 residents under evacuation orders right now. In all, Oregon has 100 wildfires burning, with heat doing no help for those firefighters, Jess.
By no means. It's the heat and it's the smoke that the whole West Coast continues to battle. And as we head into the coming days, I want to start off with the National Weather Service and what they have to say about this. See all this pink highlighted on this map? For the most part, that's heat advisories showing well above normal conditions for this time of year. Excessive heat warnings in effect, too, throughout the state of California. Look at Oregon real fast. We see that gray color. Air quality alerts are in effect right now due to those mega fires that continue to just billow in that air over the state of Oregon as well as California. We're also keeping a close eye on Montana for a different reason. They are dealing with some extreme heat right now. Record-breaking numbers in effect throughout this afternoon. But let's go back to the smoke real fast. We've been watching the fires burn down in Southern California, just near Riverside. As we zoom out just a little bit more, you can get a good picture as to where that fire is currently at right now over in Oregon, continuing to bring that smoke down to areas like Nevada in California as we head into the evening hours tonight. Now, as we turn the page day by day, Tuesday into Wednesday, all the way into Thursday, notice how we don't get too much relief when it comes to the Central Valley over in California. So the boots on the ground right now battling those fires, they're dealing with some extreme heat. Let's take a look at the temperatures right below me. Daytime highs today, they're expected to break records in communities like Billings, Montana, all the way over into areas like Las Vegas and Phoenix, dealing with triple-digit weather just like up north. We're going to continue to watch this heat really build as we head into the coming days over in the West Coast. We'll have more on that coming up in just a bit, Reed.
Okay, thank you so much. Our eye on the weather and also our eye on America. These are some bumpy political times. We're going to take you back to 1968 and see what parallels can be drawn. You're watching CBS News 24/7. We're back after the break. All right, welcome back. It is our understanding that President Biden has been cleared by his doctors, now testing negative for COVID. We are also understanding that the president is within seconds of being wheels up from Dover on his way to Washington, D.C., where he has a full slate of meetings, not the least of which is Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. We also have an understanding that the Prime Minister of Israel also has a meeting scheduled with none other than Donald Trump. In fact, Donald Trump just put this on social media. He is saying looking forward to welcoming Bibi Netanyahu at Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida on Thursday. The former president then goes on to talk about his history with Netanyahu and promising peace through strength agenda. We also want to get to developing news in Washington. Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheatle is out. She resigned under great pressure from both Democrats and Republicans over the agency's handling of that attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump. Taking a live look from Wisconsin right now, we are waiting on Vice President Kamala Harris to speak soon at a campaign event. You can feel the energy there. You can hear it there. This is in a place very close to Milwaukee County. This is Harris's first rally since becoming the likely Democratic presidential nominee. We are also understanding that she has received word in recent moments backstage that she has received the resounding endorsement of Senator Chuck Schumer and Representative Hakeem Jeffries. And so this will likely be some of the wind that she will ride onto that stage. Keep in mind, this was Republican territory a week ago at this time during the Republican National Convention. Now Kamala Harris, who looks to be very close to securing the nomination to being the Democrats' top of the ticket for the presidency, she will be offering a counterpoint to everything Republicans had to say there in the state of Wisconsin. By the way, crucial battleground state, must win. Let's jump the map to Maine. We want to give you a follow-up to the worst mass shooting in that state's history. The Army has been investigating this one and found multiple communication failures about warning signs in the months before Army reservist Robert Card carried out that October shooting. Devastating to that community. 18 died, 13 others wounded. So military and civilian hospitals let him go, discharged him, saying that he posed a very low risk to himself and to others, despite showing homicidal ideation and even discussing a hit list. More to come on this story. Let's jump the map across the globe, in fact, now to video coming to us from a rising death toll in Ethiopia because of heavy rain and mudslides there. You see the frantic effort there. So many people just digging with what they can, looking for survivors in the mud. But right now, we know the storms and slides have been devastating to that country. At least 229 children and pregnant women killed. We understand that number could go up as many people are still unaccounted for. People in Ethiopia reeling from that news. Now this. If you feel something there, so do we, because it's our promise to you. Our Eye on America series focuses on some of the issues facing communities where you live, where you work. You know, Mark Twain once said, history does not repeat itself, but it often rhymes. President Biden's stunning decision to not seek re-election, certainly historic. But as CBS's Mark Strassman is about to show you, it also echoes another president's choice in another turbulent year. Let's go back to 1968.
Tested many times this past year.
Revolt clawed at Lyndon Johnson early in 1968, an unpopular incumbent targeted by fellow Democrats. Sound familiar?
2024 is very reminiscent of 1968 for a variety of reasons.
Historian Mark Updegrove is president and CEO of the LBJ Foundation. We spoke about striking parallels between Presidents Johnson and Biden, and between 1968's America and today's.
Mood of the country. Divided, tempestuous, a lot of extreme rhetoric. We had the same thing in 1968, and that we were being shaken to our very foundations.
Especially divisive then, Vietnam, America's sons and daughters dying in Southeast Asia. CBS News' Walter Cronkite was a turning point.
It seems now more certain than ever that the bloody experience of Vietnam is to end in a stalemate.
Johnson believed losing Cronkite and Vietnam meant his re-election was also unwinnable. In March 1968, he quit the race.
I shall not seek, and I will not accept the nomination of my party for another term as your president.
Updegrove says that decision, like President Biden's to step aside, was more than political. There were health concerns.
LBJ truly believed that he might jeopardize the country because his heart might fail.
But Democrats have to wonder whether 1968 is also a cautionary tale. In the race to keep the Oval Office, look at what happened once LBJ stepped aside.
First, a double tragedy.
Memphis today is officially in mourning.
Martin Luther King murdered in Memphis. Robert Kennedy.
And now it's on to Chicago, and let's win there. Thank you, Bob.
Gunned down in a Los Angeles hotel kitchen.
We can achieve nothing by lawlessness and divisiveness.
When Butler, Pennsylvania happened, did you think to yourself, another similarity?
Without question. Just as in 1968, you had the feeling that anything could happen next. And that...
Like Chicago's 1968 Democratic National Convention. Outside, mayhem. Inside, rancor.
Don't push me, take your hands off of me.
Divided delegates nominated Hubert Humphrey, LBJ's vice president. Mr. Biden has endorsed his VP, Kamala Harris.
I seek to lead a great nation.
Humphrey, wounded by chaos, lost in November to Richard Nixon.
Which of the parallels resonates most with you?
What our democracy looks like today, but we should also remember that we came out of 1968 ultimately a stronger, better nation.
A nation again shocked by a sitting president feeling scorned, bowing out. For Eye on America, Mark Strassman in Austin.
Our video feeds now take us to Taiwan in the bullseye of a typhoon. Videos showing people docking their boats at this fishing port. This typhoon is expected to make landfall on the northeast coast sometime tomorrow. Jess, we bring you in. We know you're fluent in Mandarin. You spent a lot of time in Taiwan. Tell us about what you think these people are going through as somebody who's so close to them.
Well, especially on that eastern coastline, areas like Hualien, they're going to be dealing with some of the worst winds and, of course, storm surge, too. So we will continue to keep a close eye on that as it makes a landfall. But let's bring it back to our tropics here in the States. It's actually been relatively quiet. I mean, I'm sure the people at the National Hurricane Center are catching that breath of fresh air right now before they gear up for a more active season right around the corner. But we are dealing with calm conditions right now. No active storms impacting our east coast. However, I want to show you something else that's going on. We still have some active storms in the forecast for us heading into the coming days. Right now, areas like Texas stretching all the way over into Arkansas and Mississippi, they are dealing with some active weather. The stationary front is allowing for these storms to really just sit over those states, not allowing for much activity other than just heavy downpours and potential of lightning too. Now, areas close to San Antonio and all the way over in Austin, they can expect anywhere up to around 5 inches of rain today in those local communities. So flooding becomes a major concern in these local areas. To add to that, the National Weather Service has issued plenty of flood watches and warnings that will continue to remain in effect throughout the evening hours tonight. We keep a close eye on that. Futurecast showing into the evening hours. Those storms continue to track just offshore. It's cool, it's cloudy, it's wet, it's humid in this area, and we continue to watch that impact areas like Louisiana and Louisiana and Mississippi heading into the coming days. Reed.
All right, Jess, thanks. How about we jump the map now and go to Paris? And a change in how all of us will watch the opening ceremonies. Usually you see the spectacle in a stadium, but not so, say the French. Thousands of visitors will enjoy the Parade of Nations in the opening event along the Seine River. And wouldn't you know it, Paris is downright pretty, and the planets are aligning around that reality. Look at this. A Monday moon passed right through the Olympic rings on the Eiffel Tower ahead of the Games. We are investigating whether astronomers in Paris have the connections that would appear to have pulled this feat off. All right, let's jump the map now from Paris to Wisconsin. You see right here behind me, a lot of people gathered for a rally for Vice President Kamala Harris as she campaigns for the presidency. As soon as she steps to that podium and addresses her audience, offering that counterpoint to Republican talking points just a week ago at the RNC, you will see it here on the stream. CBS News 24/7 will continue throughout the afternoon, watching for Harris to speak soon at that campaign event. Thanks for watching.